Tonight on Business Live, banks to be prohibited from paying dividends by the Bank of Ghana to help meet recapitalization program. Also, board chairman of National Petroleum Corporation, Freddie Blay, breaks silence over sale of 7% shares in Jubilee Oil Holdings Limited. We'll tell you more.
Scandalously decided to take GNPC shares and sell it to a foreign company, depriving this country of, I believe these are all allegations that I find them unfortunate.
Plus, analysts raise concern about the current structure of the IMF economic program, but the fund says Ghana's program is robust to deal with structural challenges. We'll hear from resident representative of the IMF, Dr. Leandro Medina.
We are quite confident about the strength of the program and that it will be implemented as it has been designed.
Grateful you could join us. I am Pius Kojo Baka. To our very first story, banks will be prohibited from distributing dividends to shareholders to help them meet the recapitalization program by shoring up their capital. That's according to the International Monetary Fund staff report on Ghana. According to the report, the financial intermediaries will also be restricted in terms of their risk exposures, whilst the central bank will strengthen its monitoring for those who do not meet the capital adequacy ratio. There is more in this report.
The banks have been given until September this year to submit their recapitalization plans. According to the IMF staff report on Ghana, the Bank of Ghana will monitor the expected capital shortfalls of the banks stemming from the ongoing recognition of the debt restructuring losses in capital adequacy ratio calculations and ensure the plans for rebuilding capital buffers are implemented based on periodic milestones. It's pointed out that further incentives to banks to expedite the process will include the prohibition of distributing dividends. Furthermore, any government support for recapitalization will be designed to incentivize private capital injection and will be conditional on reforms to improve long-term profitability. It's concluded that the government is also committed to completing the remaining task from the financial sector cleanup and implementing reforms to support credit to the private sector.
And senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amoah, join us for more on this latest development from the Bank of Ghana. Now, it will be interesting to pick your thoughts, Dr. Amoah, on Business Life on this interesting story. What do you make of this directive captured in the IMF staff report, which was echoed by Governor Dr. Ernest Addison at the last MPC meeting, which made saying that basically banks which made profits in their first quarter should not rush to start distributing their dividends?
Thank you very much. It is in line, because if you look at how banks in Ghana have created earnings over the period, we are all aware that banks do heavily engage in lending or buying government instruments to make some return. So if it is the case that the banks have been heavily exposed in terms of default on the part of government, or the assets have been impaired, which has negatively impacted on the profit of the banks, extending to the fact that banks will have to use their capital to absorb the losses, then it comes not as a surprise that BOG and, of course, from the IMF, would direct banks to be a bit careful in how they declare profit and also pay out dividend. The reason is simple, you see. Dividend is part of your profits made for the year that has been declared to be paid out to shareholders, and the rest retained for expansion and then for capital buffer purpose. Now, if you have run a particular year where your operations have been badly hit in terms of losses, and you have to even recapitalize, then the cheapest and the first go-to place to source for funding or capital should be your internal generated funds. And that is part of the dividend. The dividend adds up to your internal generated fund, which is in most cases at no cost to the bank. So it is right for the IMF and BOG to tell the banks that, no, hold on, the environment is not so good now. Liquidity is threatening within the space. So instead of you to go ahead and pay dividend, retain the dividend and use it as your first line of action in the need to increase your capital base. So it is not good news for the shareholders or the owners of the banks, but for the purpose of the industry and for the purpose of maintaining the stability and the resilience of the banking sector, it is indeed a good move. If not, then these banks will first pay the dividend and they will then have to go and source for capital. Should there be a capital call on them from the central bank? And that will be more expensive than to use their retained earnings. In other words, not to pay dividend and have the dividend as part of their capital.
It is good you mentioned that this, of course, wouldn't be good news to shareholders and, of course, owners of the banks. Now, I want to know for how long can shareholders contain or wait on this directive?
We have had instances like this in the past. In 2018, during the banking sector cleanup, a similar directive came from Bank of Ghana that banks should not pay dividend. During the COVID pandemic 2020-2021, another directive came from Bank of Ghana that banks should not pay dividend. In between these periods, banks have paid dividend. So if you are asking for how long, not more than 2 years, I think bank owners and shareholders will be laughing to the bank and they will have much to celebrate. Because if you look at the profits that are generated by banks, it appears the banking sector is one of the most profitable sectors in the country. So if for a year or two, in the face of the current difficulty, you are a bank shareholder or an owner, and you are being taxed that, hold on, use what is deservedly must come to you, must be used as capital buffer, I don't think it should hurt the owners so much. They need to be patient. Good days are yet to come, and strongly, they will get more going forward.
Good days are yet to come, but I don't know how juicy that would be to shareholders and, of course, owners of the bank if indeed the directive hasn't given any form of assurance to them that, look, in the next 2 years, you are going to benefit from that. Do you think that directive should come clear again?
It will be difficult to say, but then if you look at the trajectory, in 2018, there was a similar call from the central bank. Then 2020, because of COVID, there was a similar call. That is 2 years intervals. Then 2023 are having a similar call. So if you look at it carefully, you can see that it is just one-time call, don't pay dividend. Then you have 2 years to receive dividend. One-time call, don't pay dividend. You have 2 years to receive dividend. So looking at that history, one can say that maybe this year, owners and shareholders will not get it. But hopefully next year or the year after next year, the economy will be that strong, and especially that we know that the sector is very profitable, the owners will definitely get something. If not this year, hopefully next year.
Thank you very much, Dr. Benjamin Amoah, for your time here on Business Live. He's a senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, sharing his perspective with us on this latest directive from the IMF and the Bank of Ghana. And one longer with the IMF, though, because they are insisting that Ghana's program has the required measures and policies to deal with the structural challenges facing the economy. The program has come under some serious criticisms from some analysts who have argued that it will rather leave the country or the economy in a bad state post-completion. But resident representative of the IMF, Dr. Leandro Medina, disagrees. He has been speaking on PM Express Business Edition, which airs tonight at 9 p.m.
We are quite confident about the strength of the program and that it will be implemented as it has been designed. I would say that commitment is there. The objectives are to restore the macro, to get us out of the crisis, to ensure that debt is go down a sustainable path, to increase growth and to make it more inclusive. And Ghanaians are really looking forward to this. They are really looking forward to see inflation going down, to see the improvement in the management of the fiscal account, and to see more opportunities and more growth. In that sense, we are quite confident that the condition will be met and that we are going to have a very successful path forward.
I go through your program and I realize that you are, the staff report, quite heavy on the fiscal situation. It appears that's where our major challenges in terms of the necessary corrections that this program is trying to do, right?
This program, the policies and reforms that will support the objectives, one of the main fronts is the fiscal front.
Yeah.
We expect a large and front-loaded fiscal consolidation. This will be done through revenue mobilization and also through making expenditure more efficient. But of course, this will be done while protecting the vulnerable, protecting the poor, because ensuring social protection is one of the key aspects of the program. And if I may, give you two examples, two key examples of what is being done by authorities in their economic program.
And the full interview airs tonight at 9 p.m. here on the Joy News channel. Let's move on to one of our headline stories. And chairman of the board of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, Freddie Blay, has described calls by the civil society organizations for his resignation as unfortunate. He argued that most of the CSO don't understand the issues well because the sector is sensitive. He, however, admitted that the energy minister disagreed with him in private since the beginning of the discussions on the Deepwater Tunnel oil block. He has been speaking in an interview with journalists at the Krobo Girls Presby School.
CSOs have asked for my head or for my resignation. It's a pressure. Everybody is calling me here and there. What have you done? Is it true that you have surreptitiously, as the word is, or scandalously decided to take GNPC shares and sell it to a foreign company, depriving this country of, I believe these are all allegations that I find them unfortunate. It's not the case. CG oil industry is very sensitive. And it's not my activity as an individual. It's not my conduct as an individual that will determine what is happening. I am complemented by, indeed, it's a chain of command. The presidency, the ministry, the Ministry of Finance, our board of directors, there's an executive committee of GNPC, and the CEO is in charge of all this things. Before we take any decision, we go through meetings. Now, I can't on my own go and sell GNPC assets. As I said, it's a bit complicated. Now, I will have left, immediately you write such a thing about it, that people sense, even you in the media, you sense that there's a problem there. Somehow, how can a GNPC chairman go and sell shares of the company to a foreign, deprive this country? Maybe he's doing so that he will be benefit from it. We'll have some, they'll pay him on the side. It's scandalous. Is that not?
Was there any intention to sell?
Please, there's no intention to do so. There was no block that you are selling or deciding to sell.
Meanwhile, the executive director of the GNPC Foundation, Dr. Dominic Edua, has defended the objectives of the foundation as the best way to ensure that Ghanaians benefit from the discovery of oil and gas in the country. According to him, the foundation has impacted more than 10 million citizens economically with its projects across the country. Dr. Edua made the remarks in a speech to inaugurate a modern home science building for the Krobo Girls Senior High School in the Manya Krobo municipality.
The agenda of making Ghanaians benefit from the discovery of oil resources in Ghana is not ending anytime soon, as more communities are expected to benefit from the social investments of the GNPC Foundation. According to its executive director, Dr. Dominic Edua, more social amenities will be provided for other areas through economic empowerment and education programs. He was speaking after handing over the 7-unit classroom block facility for the Home Science Department of the Krobo Girls Senior High School.
Every region is having its share. As I said, we go in fairly distribution so that every region benefits. That's exactly what we are doing. And the main intent or the brain behind this is to ensure that we become proactive in averting situations such as Niger Delta in Ghana. We don't want that in Ghana. GNPC is almost close to drilling on land. Yeah, that's what we call the Voltaire Basin project. covering close about 45% of the total landmark of Ghana. So you can understand, we can't sit aloof and just wake up to drill on land. We need to get that close engagement with the people. We need to let them understand that the proceeds from the oil is being used to benefit them already, so that they can be part of us as partners in development.
Municipal Chief Executive for the Manya Krobo Municipal Assembly, Simon Tete, highlighted some of the benefits enjoyed by the GNPC Foundation in the area.
I must say, we are grateful to GNPC, the board chair and his team, and Doc for at least supporting the municipality by providing some boreholes, and now they've lifted it up to the provision of Home Economics Department. Please, let's clap for them. Those days, we didn't know GNPC could do all these things to support education. But because of good leadership by the board chair and Doc, today we are seeing them all over the country, providing the needed facilities for various institutions. And we hope that with their good leadership, GNPC will continue to flourish, to provide more facilities, to help and support education that our president has initiated, that is the free senior high school program.
Meanwhile, headmistress for the Kobo Girls School, Bernice Noel Mensah, expressed gratitude to the foundation and also used the opportunity to call on other corporate bodies to come to the aid of the school.
Going to impact seriously on academic work, because formally, even when we have practicals, the room we have cannot accommodate even 20 students at a time. And so we need to go intense starts in the morning to the next day before we are able to pass all our students through. But with this one, if even we will go around again, it will be first and second batches. And that will help us a lot. At least it will make our classrooms also tidy, because we move their home economics and they have their equipment items. We don't have cupboards and things, but here we have storerooms, we have every space where they can keep their things. And so we are so much grateful to GNPC.
The foundation has, however, agreed to support government in undertaking other social projects in the area.
This is still Business Life with me, Pius Kojo Baka. More after this break. Hello, welcome back. Human resource practitioners across the country have been entreated to take keen interest in national issues. According to the president of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, Ghana, Dr. Edward Kwapon, practitioners should be more professional in their line of duty. At the launch of his book, dubbed HR Thought Leadership, he also called for proper regulation of the sector.
The book details the theoretical underpinnings of HR as well as its practice, delving into prospects of the discipline for the health of institutions. In 287 pages and 25 chapters, Edward Kwapon convinces readers with his views, ideas and diagrams of human resource management practice that is exceptional and result in the mutual growth of practitioners and workers. He urged HR practitioners to break the glass ceiling for progression.
As HR practitioners, I'm urging you to show interest in such initiatives to elevate HR from an administrative or clerical or administrative support role to a strategic function. At selection interviews, candidates are hard put to it when asked the type of model, HR model, they are using in their organization. So we are not even familiar with the models. Again, financial audit is very popular in companies for purposes of compliance and assurance in carrying out business. It validates efficient and effective operation of approved systems, processes, and procedures. HR works with policies and procedures most of the time, but hardly ever audit the application of same. It is when an employer is seeking to cut costs that a call is made for manpower audit to be conducted. Manpower audit is, however, a very small fraction of an audit, a comprehensive audit in HR system of the company. To rub shoulders with the finance and operations, why shouldn't HR advocate for periodic audit of the HR function for the benefit of all stakeholders?
President for the Ghana Employers Association, Dan Echampon, also called on human resource practitioners to add value to their respective institution or company instead of becoming a burden to manage.
And indeed, as a council member of the GEA, we were there together. Now, I think he's the second after me here. He's the current president of this great institute. And indeed, anybody who has an association with this institute must stay strong, must be on their toes, because you can make it. So mine is not going to be a review of this book, but looking through it and looking at the headlines, I can see that this will be a great companion for all of you HR practitioners. And everywhere I have been, I keep telling people, you can be greater than. They said I've broken the glass ceiling. I don't know where I did that, but I believe that you can do greater things.
The HR Thought Leadership Book presents the reader with great thoughts and insight on optimally harnessing human resource in institutions for their growth and development.